Welcome to Photography BB's Artistry Effects for Photoshop. In this tutorial, we'll look at how to use our Impasto 2 detail painting effect in Photoshop. Let's jump on into Photoshop and see how to apply this effect to your images. This effect comes in two different orientation files. We have a landscape orientation, which is shown here on the screen, and a portrait orientation as well. To use these template files, simply open one of the templates, either the landscape or the portrait version, in Photoshop, and then we're going to insert our own image into it to turn it into a painting. To do that, we're going to double click on the layer thumbnail of the top layer here. Double click to add photo. We want to click on the thumbnail itself, not on the text. So we'll double click the thumbnail, and that will open up a Smart Object layer. So all we have to do is paste our image into the Smart Object layer, and to do that we go to the menu File, Place Embedded, and then choose the image that you would like to work with. For this tutorial I'm going to use this one right here, and we go down and click Place, and that brings our image into Photoshop. Now we have these anchor points here so that we can adjust our image if we wanted to. You can stretch or reposition the image to your liking, and then when you're ready to finalize the placement of your image, just click on the little check mark here, and that places your image into the template. Now to apply the painting effect, all we have to do is close the Smart Object layer and save it. So we're going to click on the little X here to close it and say yes to saving it right here. Now Photoshop is going to do the magic for us and apply the painting effect to our image. Okay, and there we go. As you can see, we have our Impasto 2 effect on this image now. If I zoom in, you can see we really have some nice looking thick paint brush strokes here. And one of the reasons we created Impasto 2 is because we had a lot of requests for restoring detail to an Impasto painting, such as this one here. So this one, you can see we do have a lot of details in the original image that are lost in the Impasto sort of palette knife effect here. So with Impasto 2, we can bring back some of those details. And to do that, we're going to start, instead of with the optional controls, we'll start with the Impasto 2 details layer right here. Now to bring back the details, all we have to do is click on the layer mask, which is black right here. We want to click on the mask itself, not on the folder or on the layer itself. We want to click right on the mask, and you'll see it's highlighted there. Then we're going to press B to activate our brush key, and then we're going to paint. You can change the opacity of your brush if you would like. I'm going to go with something pretty strong like 95. And then we're going to paint with a white brush over the areas in our image where we want to bring back some of the detail. Now you can paint over them by dragging, or you can simply just click over some of the detailed areas. And like these windows, for example, I'm going to click over them. And you can see how it's bringing back a lot of the detail that was lost in the original paint style here. So let's just drag over it to speed up this tutorial here. Here we go. Oops. And we don't need that. We can. Yeah, we lost a lot of detail in this little area right here, which we're bringing back nicely. And in these little boats, maybe on the street. And let's get this part of the street and these boats, maybe right here as well. And maybe some of the water as well. Whoops, keep clicking the brush there. Okay. Now, to see how much detail you've brought back into your image, you can just turn the visibility of the details layer on and off, and you'll see that's quite a dramatic effect. We brought back a lot of that detail that was lost in the original image, yet we still have the same Impasto texture and paint style, but with more detail now. So this is one of the coolest things about this effect. Now we can toggle these two layer groups open. So when we turn off the visibility of the details layer, that is our Impasto paint layer, the thicker brush strokes right there. And if you wanted to toggle open either one of these layer groups, you have some control over the Impasto texture. You can change the opacity of those brush strokes if you want to make them very strong, or if you want to tone them down a little bit. think around close to 80% here is good. We have the paint layer itself, and same for the details layer. If I turn that back on, we can go in here. We have the smaller impasto texture, and you can see if I turn that on and off, the effect that that has on those detailed areas there. And then of course we have the detail paint layer, and you can play with the opacity of these as well. So we're going to jump back up now into the optional controls. And if we toggle open this layer group here, we have some toning controls. We'll toggle that open. And that just gives us the ability to darken or brighten the image by turning these visibilities on or off. We have the option to add more vibrance. And we can double click on the layer icon, the adjustment layer icon right here, to make more refined changes to those things. So we can crank up the vibrance, maybe bring down the saturation, or bring up the saturation, all to your liking, depending how your image looks. We can add more contrast to the image. And again, if that is not enough, we can double click on the adjustment layer icon and make further adjustments to the curves. You can see that's a more dramatic effect there. I'll turn those off for now. And we do have a mid-tone boost layer here, which just gives a little bit of a bump to the brightness of the mid-tones. So you can see the effect of that there. So we'll close up this toning layer group. And lastly, we'll explore the colors layer group right here. So if I toggle this open, we have this wonderful color overlay, which really adds some drama and some magic to the image itself. So if I put the layer visibility of this on, you'll see that applies a really cool looking color overlay to the painting style here. And if we press Command or Control T, oops, we have to highlight that layer to make it active. Press Command or Control T. Then we can do things like rotate the color layer around, see if it looks better this way. So that's the new direction. That was the old direction. I kind of like it in this direction. Or you can even stretch this wider or smaller, depending on how you feel. So I think that looks pretty cool. We can even adjust the opacity of this to bring it down a little bit. But I actually liked it kind of cranked up there. So we can have this color overlay. We have a color mood, which we can sort of give a color tint to the image here, and we can change that by double clicking on the swatch. Maybe you want a warmer image or a cooler image or something a little more dramatic, and you can adjust even the positioning of that. Again, to your liking. Turn that off. We have the ability to make it black and white. This looks really cool as well. Or we have some predefined color options here, which are a lot of fun to play with. For example, this one, I have a feeling number 3 is going to look very good on this image. Let's go down to number 3. Yeah, this one looks really cool. It's a little strong, so what I'm going to do is back off the opacity to maybe about, let's just say 60%. And you can see, just adds a nice little toning style to the image, makes it look more like a painting. So you can have a lot of fun experimenting with these and playing with these as well. And lastly, we have a canvas texture, and you won't notice this until we go in quite far on the zooming in, and we toggle that on and off. And you can have this sort of false canvas texture. If you plan on printing these onto a canvas, you will want to disable that because you'll have the actual canvas texture instead of a simulated one here. So that is our Impasto 2 detail effect for Photoshop. I hope you have a lot of fun playing with this one, and thank you again for choosing Photography BB Artistry Effects. Happy Photoshopping!